What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Aaron with Southern River Tables here to show you how to build a chessboard just like this. So first up, obviously the most important part is the squares. We pick out our wood and we hand cut these on a table saw to whatever size you want. Most of our chessboards are 1.5 inch squares, but you can cut them whichever way you want. Just make sure that the mold that you'll see later is the right size for your boards. We also use an MDF base for our molds, and we cut these 12 inches by 12 inches and then 12 inches by 1.5 inches for the sides. Now these bases, we do laser engrave all of the grids on there. You can do this by hand, but we use the LaserMaster Pro 3 to get this done. It's a lot more efficient and works a lot better. So we actually build our own molds using tuck tape and MDF. We found it a little bit cheaper, and honestly, it's just MDF screws and tuck tape. These molds are 16.25 by 16.25 inches, and like I said before, you can make this smaller or larger, whatever fits your fancy. Now remember though, when you're building these molds, you gotta silicone the inside. This is what we use, and we've had way too many accidents. We always take the time to silicone the inside. So now that we have the mold ready to roll, we put in that MDF base with those 4 edges in there as well. We use a little bit of wood glue, but you can also use a fast setting epoxy to make sure that it's secured into the base. Now we start gluing everything onto that MDF base, that gridded base. We also used 4 corner pieces with this one and a border. You can also do it without all of that if you prefer. Now for the fun part, you pick out your pigment. Today we're going to be using Caribbean Blue by Black Diamond Pigments, and this is the fun part. As you can see, the Caribbean Blue really pops with this maple. We're also using Promise Epoxy, which is what we use for all of our projects. They are the best. Check them out. I have a link in my bio for all of their products, as well as Black Diamond Pigments. And we fill this all the way up to the wood line, but if you get a little extra over, it's fine. We actually put a stone base on it to make sure that it's not going to go anywhere. Now that was a picture of a different board, but only because I didn't get a picture of this one. So next up, what we're going to do is take off the edges. And like I said, all that tuck tape makes this pretty easy. It should just pop right off. We unscrew the screws and then take all the edges off and then pop this base off. Sometimes it's all right to use a chisel. If it's fully cured, you're not going to hurt the board. You'll be good to go. We actually also reuse all of our MDF molds. All you got to do is give them a light sand and they'll be ready to use again. Up next, we have the Triton 2.25 horsepower router on our Woodpecker router sled. We use this to get both sides completely flat. This will get it ready for sanding, which will be our next step. Again, you can find all of the tools that I use to purchase in my bio if you are curious. So after we get this done, it is sanding time, now that they are nice and flat. You can use an orbital sander. We sand all the way up to 220 grit. We also have a drum sander from Grizzly that we use. Again, I know that's not the same board as before. I just didn't have a video of the Caribbean Blue, so excuse me. But I did still want to show you the tool. So finally, it is finishing time. First, we got to make sure that Leroy is good. He looks ready to go. Then we'll be using tabletop epoxy from Promise Epoxy to finish our board. You can also sand this to whatever grit you feel and put a wax finish or an oil finish. We personally like the epoxy finish from Promise Epoxy. If you do use tabletop, we heat ours up prior to pouring. We feel that it allows it to give a better finish and less bubbles in the final product. And what we like to do is pour it sort of evenly across the entire surface and let it naturally set and form. Don't forget, always remember to brush those sides. And then always remember to pop those pesky bubbles at the end of the pour. We use a butane torch. And after that cures, it takes about 24 hours to cure. We flip the board over because we got to get rid of those drips. We use our orbital sander, starting with 80 and go all the way up to 220 to get rid of those pesky drips. We get this question a lot. And once we get that done, we put some feed on it. We double check that Leroy is good with the final product. He looks skeptical. And there you have it, the Caribbean Blue Maple Chessboard. And guess what? We're giving it away. Comment below what color you'd like to see next to be entered to win. And please subscribe, because up next we'll be showing you how to do multi-pours as well as making UV matching resin pieces and giving away more boards. If you guys have any questions about the tools I use or the process, please feel free to reach out in the comments. Thank you.